Welcome
What's up?
everybody to the Game of Power podcast. I'm your host, Maxwell Murray, and today we have a special guest. We have Tavel Stoney, creator of Unknown Inc.
What's
Bro,
good?
thanks for coming on the show.
Yes, definitely. It's a long time coming, bro. What's up? What's up? How you doing?
So tell me a little bit about what you've been up to lately, like where you at in the fashion process, what you've been working on. Yeah, just kind of update me on what's going on.
Oh, okay. I just did a show, probably like 5 or 6 days ago, and yeah, it was pretty good. They're like a fashion show. I did 5 looks. Um, it was like three other designers there I seen. A lot of them were like FIT graduates and stuff like that. So it was a good insight for me, for especially for me as a person who didn't go to college and I just do everything, uh YouTube University. But
Facts.
yeah, so like
Kind
it
of talk to me about that a little bit. I'm a little curious. A lot of people say in order to be a fashion designer, you have to go to fashion school and learn it that way. Talk to me about kind of
yeah.
learning the industry on your own.
So yeah, so like it's definitely more, I guess you can say, rewarding because like you taking that experimenting and planning, stuff like that. And it's like it's it's more freedom and stuff like that, right? So like for me, recently I've actually been thinking about going to fashion school. Just not in the sense of getting like learning stuff, I guess you can say. Like, but I just want that stamp because in like this fashion community, like if you want to be like let's say if you want to be a creative director for like a certain brand, they might like X you out just because you don't have a degree in, in fashion or, fashion marketing or something like that. They think you're like, not as design capable as other people. So like I don't want people to be thinking that like I'm fully capable of everything. Like I wanted to start myself. So like I go into college with a different mindset, where it's like not that you can't tell me shit type of mindset, but it's like I'm gonna take what you're saying and then it's like I'm gonna make my own mold rather than me going in there like blind and not knowing nothing and it's like adhering to this like fashion, you know, system, this institution, because it's like college is an institution, but it's like, can you take those values and like, apply it to like your brand and stuff like that? So that's the
I
parts.
definitely think that's a Yeah, I definitely think that's important in terms of like, even for me, I don't necessarily excel in school when it's like I have to go to class and learn what they're teaching me in class without a
Yeah.
sense of purpose. But then when you look at it from the other end, even you talking about going to fashion school, when you have that point of view, if it's me trying to build fits, then when I go to class, I'm always applying
Mm.
that information straight onto everything that I'm working on before, and it helps me understand the information a little bit better. So I definitely think that there's a balance between kind of learning from, the system in which college is, but then a balance of kind of being able to step
Yeah.
out into the real world, learn those skills on the fly, and then use college as another outlet to
Outlet,
get you
yeah.
more information to become better at your craft.
Also, I'm trying to use it as a cheat code. They got a lot of resources there. They got the industrial stuff. They got knitting and stuff like. I don't got all that money to be buying that equipment, so I'm gonna do all that stuff while I'm in, trying to get my learning and stuff. Because it's like if you going in college with a brand, and you're already like, you know, you're already, for me like 2 years in, it's like a gold mine. It's like, yo, I can go to class. He's like, I bet I might skip and like, that's a bad mindset. But it's like, if you like on some like grungy, like just trying to take every opportunity that you can, it's like, would you rather like spend that hour in class or like, and you already know, I'm just saying in the mindset of like a person who already like, who's coming there and it's like they already have like 2 years of knowledge, on something. But it's like, if you have a concept and it's like, I got all the materials here. I'm about to just make this concept right here and I'm about to make this at the highest quality I can possibly make. And then I'm gonna bring it to class and I'm gonna show them like, look, you can be learning this, But like I'm a person who came in from the outside, who learned from the outside and came in. So it's kind of like showing people two different sides of the fashion where it's like I'm like that under not the underdog, but it's like that street cat, who got that
Yeah.
life. And then I was like I'm in this home, but I still got that knowledge. I got that street background where it's like I know what the people really want, and not let what statistics are showing and stuff like that. Really talking to people. Understanding what the mindset of the people is.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of talk to me about the beginning. I wanna learn more about your beginning, how you even, started in the industry.
hmm
Was the kid Tavel interested in fashion? Talk to me about that journey of kind of wanting to start a fashion brand.
So, okay. So let's go back, like back. So, I just, all right. So, like, technically, I didn't finish my first like time in college, right? Money issues and stuff like that. So like I was doing graphic design. So from graphic design, I did I started working on my uncle's truck and stuff like that. So and working on my uncle is like going to college in itself because like he's very business orientated. So like that time where like I'm definitely older because I worked with him since I was like 16. So like me working him versus when I'm 16 versus when in my 20s, I'm fresh out of college trying to think about what I'm trying to do with my life is vastly different because like he's talking to me like a man, you know, it's like what you want to do in life, yeah, you can be on this truck working, but it's like you are a better person. You can do more than just working on this truck. That's what he will always preach to me. So he was like, yeah, you did the graphic design, but it's like, all right, what you gonna do more? Like, what you gonna put it on? Like he was like, oh, you got this truck. You can like design this truck. You can put logos and stuff like that. Make it the flyest truck in New York. Every time I come by making deliveries, you can do that. So I was like, all right, maybe I can try it out. Whatever. But like I felt that at that time it was like too advanced. I was being pushed into a corner where it was like, damn, I got this open access and it's like I don't know what to do, right? So I had to like understand who I was as a designer. It was like, you know, do I want to do graphic design solely or like, and then I started experimenting with like pottery and stuff like that and painting and stuff like that. I was trying to lean more into my uh artist, mindset because I've always been an artist. I've always been drawing. I've always trying to making up concepts. I've always been trying to making up business, propositions, stuff like that. I've always been trying to do something against the grain, right? So then COVID happened. Um, so I was sitting down for a little bit and, I was thinking about, all right, if everything can just be shut down just like that, what the hell can I do to like make sure that I'm good? Like, because it's like that just proved to me that this so-called corporate system that people have been preaching about for like the last what 70, 80 years where oh get this government job, you've been good, you're gonna be good. It had just literally been cut out under your legs and you have nothing to do. People's pension is out the window, whole company is gone. They like it's done. Your whole livelihood just been is gone in a flash. So it's like, damn, if I can literally look at that and see the kinks in the system, I gotta make my own system at that point, right? So, you know, then, I bought a um a sewing machine and I was like messing with the sewing machine. Then I gave up. I was like, I ain't gonna do this, whatever. Then I went back to trucking in the height of COVID, like wearing the mask. I was delivering PPP stuff to schools and hand sanitizer. I was doing like a lot of like the brunt work during like that time, like giving supplies to like a lot of schools and uh, offices and stuff like that, and like those thermometers and stuff like that, and like in a lot of places.
Hmm.
So like, and then I was like, look, I'm doing all this good for people, but it's like, what can I do for myself at that time? So like, COVID got really, really bad, and that got shut down. So I was like, I bet. I'm like, I gotta do something. I gotta do something. So at that time, I saved up about maybe like $2,000, you know, and then I just bought equipment. I bought another sewing machine. I bought two embroidery machines, and then I bought a serger. So then I sat back and I was like, all right, what I'm gonna do? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, all right, I bought all this equipment. I bet. So I just start studying. So I was still working. I was doing embroidery and sewing at the same time. And then it hit me. I was like, I really love the feeling of making these clothes. But when I go to work, and like I'll have to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and work to like whenever the route is done. So that would be like anywhere from 4 in the morning to like 6 in the afternoon, 7 in the afternoon. Then I gotta clean up the truck, bring it back to the thing, then bring it back all the way back to Queens. And it was like a whole process. So I wasn't getting in the house until like 8, 9 o'clock almost every day. And then I was still trying to work on clothes and on my spare time. And it felt literally impossible. Like, so I was like, all right. So my uncle got a new contract and he was like, yo, like, you trying to work? And when he hit me up, I was literally in the studio working on clothes and I had to stop. And I was like, this is the moment where like people talk about where it's like it's like the major choice. It's like, do I go and work for my uncle at the trucking and do however long that's gonna be, year, 2 years, and not work on my brand, or I just say make my uncle mad for the next year because I didn't work for him and then work for myself and actually make something for myself that me and my family is actually proud of, right? So I just took it. I said, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna make it. I'm gonna start it." Like my uncle was mad. He was tight. He didn't talk to me for a little bit, stuff like that. I left him out here in the sun, like and but I had to do it for me at the same time, you know. But
Wow.
so
So
like
let
I had to
me
make.
let's
Like,
my bad.
no, go
You
ahead.
want to keep going? I was yeah. So there's a lot in that I wanted to talk about. The first point is the beginning when you said that I started sewing and I felt defeated because I
Hmm.
didn't feel like I could do it at the time and I went back to trucking. Kind of one thing that's very interesting is how whenever anyone in any type of aspect of things picks
Hmm.
up a new skill and starts working on that, at first it seems like such an impossible task. And
Yeah.
then the more you work at it, the better you get at it, the more comfortable you get in doing it. Kind of take me into that room, take
Hmm.
me into that process, and for all of the other kids that are wanting to sew, but they feel like that's the thing that maybe they can't do. Talk to me about the process of starting sewing and your journey with kind of getting better at that craft over the last few years.
So first, you gotta understand the different brands. You got Brother, you got Singer, you got the what's that? The Juke, the industrial ones. You have different levels of sewing machines, right? So I started out, and I still do. I'm a Brother fan. I got everything I use is Brother. It's very user friendly. Everything that you can possibly think is literally written on the machine, right? If you want a zigzag stitch, it says turn to this, and you got it, right? And then I have another sewing machine where it's literally automated. It's digital, right? Where you turn into a zigzag stitch, and it's like you can adjust the stitches, individually, like how whatever, and that's more it, later. But when I was first starting, I just had to figure out what is fabric and what does it entail to sew two pieces of fabric together to make something, right? So you're not going to use the same settings for denim that you're going to use for leather. It's not going to be the same that you're going to use for silk rather than linen, right? So I had to understand that. And studying is very fundamental. Okay, like if you don't know something, it's okay. Like look it up. It really only takes 2 seconds. What is the tension and whatever for leather? What is the tension for denim? What is the tension for silk? it pops up on Google. It pops up. What is the, whatever, what is the average, it, and it's very tedious, but it's like if you really, really want to do it and your head is actually there, there's nothing that's going to stop you from trying to obtain that information, right? So my
100%.
biggest deal wasn't not finding it hard, it was just finding the time, right? That's where like the trucking came in, was like my I guess you could say my blockade, where I just had to figure out, all right, do I just, just take it, or do I just tear it down and or go around it, something like that? You understand what I'm saying? Like, so
100%. 100%.
me,
And that's super
yeah.
interesting.
hmm So like, and then forcing yourself to like be in that studio with that sewing machine, and then like being okay with just buying fabric and like messing it up, because it's like people get the yeah, it's expensive, but it's like this is a very expensive career. Like people say hobbies, I never say this is a hobby. That's very undermining it. What fashion is, that is very much a career. Like that's not a hobby. So like in buying these fabrics and testing them out is very like trying to find everything. So like I wanted, so when you're saying like breaking game, I wrote down some stuff, right? I wrote down like one concept that I've been pretty much like living by for like the beginning of like making my clothes. So like how in math you got PEMDAS, right? Right?
Hmm.
Very easy. Everybody know PEMDAS, but nobody applies PEMDAS to art, right? So my version of PEMDAS is plan, experiment, map, definite, audience, and then the S is success, right? So
Okay.
when you starting out, so when I was thinking about it, everybody gonna start out with one part of this PEMDAS thing, but nobody's gonna start out with the success, which is the end. So that's the
I
compass
love
part
that.
of plan, experiment, map, definite, and your audience, right? Now you can start off with a plan, but you still need the part of experimentation to understand that your plan is sound. Because experimenting is always going to poke holes in your plan. Now, if your plan is not sound until your experimenting stage, then you have to go back to planning, right? Then you go to map. Now your map is like, where do you want your product to go? If you want to go online, storefront like me, sell stuff at the park, right? Now when you get to your definite, right? Your definite is, can I make a product, and can I make this product the same 100 times? That means
Mm.
no matter the it's hot, cold, raining, I feel sick, I got diarrhea, I can make this product no problem. Now it changes if you're using manufacturers. You got to say, is this manufacturer capable and competent to make this product every time I put this order without no fail, right? Don't now, if your definite is not perfect, you have to go back to planning,
Mm.
back to the beginning,
Ex-
because
explain that a little bit.
there's a problem in your planning. One, you didn't plan out your distributor, or your tech pack is messed up, right? Back to planning. Or if you're
Yeah.
making it yourself, you didn't cut the fabric properly, or you didn't uh you didn't do something properly. So then it goes back to experimentation. Now, since you planned it out, put it in real, because everything is 9 times out of 10 written out on your computer, or on paper or whatever. That's just the one aspect. Now you got to make that into fruition. Then go back to your thing, make it a definite, boom. Now, when it's a definite, you good. Now, who is your audience? Now that audience goes back to map. Where are you putting in it? If it's in the store, who is the audience that's going to that store? Who is the audience that's coming to your website? Who is the audience for me who's coming to the park? Right? Then once you understand that, you'll have success.
Wow. Wow, but I want to say that that was, I love that. So plan, experiment,
Hmm.
map,
Definite.
definite, audience, success. And so, bro, I feel like that's a great way of thinking about this. And I want to just kind of get deep into that a little bit. Talk to me about the whole mapping and audience aspect of things, because
Okay.
a lot of designers that are emerging will be like, "Oh, I make cool art for everyone." And
Hmm.
in reality, that's not
Nah, yeah.
tangible. That's not
That's not, yeah.
realistic. So
Hmm.
talk to me about what it how you've kind of figured out who your audience is and what you do in mind to try to appease or solve problems for that audience.
So that is a brand long experience. You're never going to 100% find out who your audience is because your audience can change in 10 years, right? For example, Chrome Hearts originally was worn by biker people, stainless steel, all that stuff. Now, who is wearing it now? 20 years later, rappers, trap people, all of that. Your audience is going to change. So now you have to adjust to your new audience. So your new map, to your new audience now. So now you have to
Hmm.
put now instead of being underground when you was, whatever with the biker stuff, you wanted to be low key, whatever. Now that it's bigger, now you want your stores in Vegas, you want your stores in Italy and stuff like that. You want your stores in Istanbul and stuff like that. You want your stuff in very uh what they call it, very like high intense places where a lot of people go because it's like
Hmm.
you never know who's going to be going through that type of traffic, and you might attract them who's part of that new audience, right?
I completely see where you're coming from. And I
Yeah.
think that one thing that is key for a lot of people that are just starting out to understand is you can look at a brand like Chrome Hearts now and
Hmm.
say, oh, well, their audience is so wide. But I feel like the only way that they got to that point was by, like you
Hmm.
said, focusing on bikers, right? And so, like,
Yeah.
yes, throughout your brand, your audience will grow. Carhartt starts for the average workman,
Worker.
right?
Yeah.
But when you kind of, yeah, the average worker, and it's like when you go after that audience, I feel like, and you perfect that, then
Yeah.
more and more people will form. I feel like it's not, oh, everyone and then a little subsection. I feel like it's
Yeah.
start small and then
Start
it
small
gets
very
big as
much.
time goes on.
And I feel like, to be honest, like you can make, okay, when people be like, is there a subculture in fashion anymore? Right? Like that's a big like conversation in fashion I've been hearing. Like they feel like the subculture in fashion is gone, right? Like the preppy kid fit, the emo, the what they call that? It's like the Cali rich kid, fits and stuff like that. Like those are like subcultures, like the rave culture and stuff like that. Those are like subcultures where like if you were in them, you knew where you can get those clothes from because those designers were in those subcultures, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
are there subcultures anymore because of the internet? I would say yes and no because everything is so blended now, right? You can
Yeah.
you can find a preppy kid going to a rave and he's wearing rave stuff, but he's never, lived the rave lifestyle. He's not really attached to it. But it's like, is he a part of that subculture now because he wears that clothes? It's a question mark now, right?
Yeah.
So
I
it's like,
completely see where you're coming from.
yeah, so it's like,
So talk to me about this. Talk to me about this.
mm-hmm,
Um, I feel like you have a very interesting subculture
mm-hmm,
within your brand, your aesthetic, and your
yeah,
style. Has it always been that way, or how did you kind of navigate and kind of talk to me about
mm-hmm.
your style of clothing that we see now?
So me. I feel like okay, when okay, how can I explain it? If I want to say if I'm am I pleasing to a subculture, I would say I'm appeasing to people who like storytelling when it comes to like their clothes. Like something that not necessarily has a message, but has like I'm a big fan of lore, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
in any like game or like set of media, I like the backstory that's not told, or is like if it's told, it's told in like this magazine that's from whatever that's written in whatever, and they just so happen to talk about it, whatever, or like like I'm a big fan of like Warhammer and like how is like it's written in like this third person perspective where it's like the like it's all like hearsay, like, right? So like
Mm-hmm.
anything is like at liable to not be real, right? And I like the concept of that, right? And it's like if I can like make that in clothes, I feel like that's kind of cool. Where it's like if it's cool, like if you found out about Unknown Ink rather from like the internet, but like from like a third party where it's like, oh, you were told like, oh, yo, I know about this dude in the park and he sell like fucking the premiumest fucking jackets and pants and stuff like that, and he like $200, $300. You gotta get on that shit. Like I will value that more than like somebody like going on Instagram live, whatever, and being like, oh, I seen this thing, whatever, is very more intimate, right? Because it's your
I
friend, they letting you
completely
know, they probably already bought a piece, stuff like that, and like it's more like, and then and it's like, how can I explain it? It's like when they buy it from me, I always talk to them. I always try to give them some lore about the brand that kind of like pulls them in, where it's like it's much more than just like, you know, jackets, pants, t-shirts type vibe. It's like it's way more than that. I'm telling a story with
100%.
this, right? And it's like even if you don't buy into the actual product of the actual clothes, you're invested in the story that you want to see unfold throughout each and every season. It's kind of like
I love that.
episodes in like a big TV show. That's how I try to equate it.
So one thing that's interesting about what you said as well is I feel like one thing that I just posted today
Hmm.
was like part of the reason why a lot of people are frustrated because they're only selling to their friends and they can't get their products out to other people is because they don't have that signature product that they
Hmm.
make better than everybody else. And so they're competing with a wider group of people that have a wider group of products. And
Hmm.
one thing that you said in that was it's like Unknown Ink, he got the fire jackets and pants. And
Yeah.
it's like one thing about you is like you got the fire jackets and pants. So for me as a buyer, right, on the
Yeah.
buyer side of things, I think, oh, I need a jacket. It's getting
Yeah.
cold.
It's getting
And
cold.
then I think, and then I think, who sells fire jackets? Oh, Unknown Ink. And I like his story and I like and X, Y, and Z. So I feel like one thing that I always say to fashion designers is you gotta have a signature product or else
Hmm.
there's nothing that's gonna have my brain go, oh, I need workout gear, I'm gonna buy Nike. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about that concept of kind of, yeah, you wanna make everything, but you have excelled in jackets and pants, and then you can
Yeah.
make things that complement your jackets and pants and
Yeah.
add to that. But it's like, what am I going to you for? I'm going to you for that fire jacket that you just sold. Like
Yeah.
that's I feel like that's the bread and butter. That's the thing that that'll bring in all the traffic to see the rest of your story, the rest of your brand.
Yeah. What's funny? When you saying that, and I thought the complete opposite. Like, cause like I'm okay. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You're definitely right. You're definitely right on like very much parts. Right. Like making like a very good product. Like yeah. Like making a very good product, but like going back to like that model. What I'm saying is like PEMDAS, like that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally the cheat code of making a good product for your brand. Now, I can look at mad different brands, right? And it's like, what is their signature, their thing? And it's like, I personally might not think that that might be their signature thing, but it is. But it's like they put so much time into it. They did the PEMDAS that I can't, in myself have to say, damn, that is their signature item. Like this is something that
Yeah.
they put a lot of work into it, despite what it is, right?
Because it can get bigger afterwards, but
Yeah,
it's like when it really comes down to it, North Face sells jackets.
yeah,
Like Gymshark sells gym wear.
mm-hmm,
Nike sells the best footwear,
yeah,
right? And it's like from there, I'm that's your bread and butter.
yeah,
Calvin Klein underwear, Levi's jeans. You can sell other things after
exactly.
that. You know what
After
I
that,
mean? You
yeah,
can complement that, but it's like Canada Goose, I'm coming to you for your jacket, and then
yeah,
maybe I'll buy your hat, and then maybe I'll buy your gloves,
yeah,
right?
and it's
But
like,
I
yeah,
feel like that's how that's the purchase journey at least, or
yeah.
that's the discovery aspect of things a little bit.
But I try to see. I always try to do things backwards, right? That's one thing about Unknown Ink, and one thing about me as a designer. I try to do things backwards. Like when I sell clothes in Washington Square, before I even say, "Hey, I got this," I say, "Hello, how you doing? This is Unknown Ink. I make da 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 da," right? And it's like, and I tell you something about myself and why I'm out here selling my clothes. Before I even show you or let you get the attention of my clothes first, I'm telling you me as a person and me as the brand and me as a designer before you even look at the clothes. Because it's like
Yeah,
I've always felt when in the park, it's more homey to talk to the people as like their family or as if you already know them. If you don't know them from like a fucking brick in the wall, talk to them as if you know them for like at least 20 years. Hey, how you doing? What's up? How your mama and them? Like, how you really doing? What's good? I'll talk to so many people who have not even looked at my clothes and I know mad shit about them. And it's like, damn, we really had a good conversation. Nah, yeah, I feel in myself that this $200 I'm about to spend is justified.
I feel you. Can I put a pin in this real quick to
Yeah.
explain, because that's a great transition into, for the audience that doesn't know,
Mhm.
I met you in the park,
Nah,
and
yeah.
that was had to be probably a year and a half ago
Yep.
at this point.
Hmm.
Um, I met you in the park and we immediately just started chopping it up, man. I love your, and then you took me obviously through your clothes, and I was like, man, this is, one, a very unique brand and an interesting story, and then two, cool dude, and three, great products. And
Nah,
so
yeah.
I I think that um one thing that separates certain people from others is that level of hustle where I'm going to the park and I'm selling my shit. You know what
Nah,
I mean?
yeah.
Talk to me about, that transition from, not only did I just make these clothes, but I went from Queens all the way down to Wash and set up my booth, and now I'm talk to me about that. Like, talk to me about
Nah,
the
yeah.
mental side of that um first, and then kind of what your process is around certain things like that.
So I would say that's purely from the Unknown Ink team. Like you've met them. Like they've been like, yo, go to Wash, go to Wash. Like we've been there. Like we go there. There's designers out there. Or I'm like, nah. I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm like, that's a lot. That's Manhattan. I'm like, God. I'm like, come on. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, all right. I was like, I'll go out there one time, right? The first time I ever went to Washington Square Park, right? My friend actually has a picture of this, right? Hold on. You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. You hear me now?
Yeah, your
Yeah.
AirPods just
All
died.
right. Yeah, yeah. I switched over. I'm good now. So nah, yeah. So the first time
Okay.
I've been to Washington Square Park, there's a like I said, there's a picture of this, and I'm literally sitting like not where the people who usually sell their stuff, like like in a big circle. I'm sitting on the side. I got the little rack. I'm sitting on the side, and I'm fucking pouting, bro. I'm like nobody paying me attention. I'm just sitting here. Like it was some points where like I got up and sat by like the benches all the way back by the trees and just left my clothes there. And I was like, if somebody walk past and think it's fire, like it's good enough for me. Like I don't even care about selling it. I just want the satisfaction of somebody just walking up and just looking at my shit and being like, okay, nah, this is cool. Like this is like I, I wanted people to look at my art and feel like it was real life. Like me making the clothes, like yeah, like throughout the whole process, the shit felt fake, right? So when I get to the park, it's like, nah, this is real. Like people actually are looking at this and are debating if this is a tangible product, right? And that did something to me. And I was like, okay, let me go back into the lab. Let's go back into the bat cave and actually make a product that I'm comfortable with and then see the reaction. And then
Mm-hmm.
and that was a whole year later. I've been in the bat cave since that I probably was in there in March. The whole year I went back the next March, came back with a whole different product, and I was like, nah, yeah, I'm comfortable, bro. And that's when at the
Wow.
same
Okay, so
time,
talk to me about
like
one thing that I can tell from even a little bit of what you said earlier,
hmm
and please correct me if I'm wrong.
yeah,
I feel like our greatest opportunity lies in places of discomfort, right?
hmm
And I feel like for me at least, whenever I reach points where maybe fear from the inside starts to strike, maybe my heart starts to beat a little fast,
yeah,
maybe I'm a little nervous. I feel like that's exactly where I should be.
yeah,
So when you
yeah,
talked about even sitting there in the park pouting, could you tell me maybe it was a little uncomfortable for people to
yeah,
look at your art? Maybe it was a little bit vulnerable. Maybe there was some fear involved, and now you're obviously far past that and gotten there. But talk to me about that for the people that are
mm,
in their head, and it's oh man, I'm a little overwhelmed because I feel that way and everybody else feels that way, and I've been that's a big thing of what I talk about. Kind of take me through that journey on the
okay.
inside, especially when it comes to art.
I'm gonna give you something mad personal. Up until that point, I felt like I was a failure. That every aspect that I probably have done has been a failed attempt. Right? There was a lady, right? Old lady, very old, right? Now, when I was sitting there at the bench, like she went over there and she was like looking at the pants, looking at it, and she was like, "These are really, really nice pants. It looks like you spent a really like a long time on these pants. These are really nice." She was like, "How much are these?" She was like, I was like 300. She was like, rightfully so. And I was like, nah, the fact that she didn't even buy it, but like let me know that the product that I thought in my head was will be a failure was actually a success. So like I unknowingly found an audience that day in Washington Square Park. So that completed my PEMDAS of success in Washington Square. So that's
I
why I
love
call
that,
Washington
and
Square my home.
I love that, and to even further your point, I think one thing I like to talk about and think about is
hmm
redefining success, right?
Exactly.
Because a lot
Yeah.
of times the definition of success is the problem that you're facing, right? So
hmm
where it's okay, if one version of success is a lady or a bunch of people rushing to your
Yeah.
product and loving it and buying it and you're making all this money, if you take a few steps back, you say, you know what, like you said, success is me putting my hard work into building this product, it done took me a whole year or 2 years to learn the craftsmanship to be
Yup.
able to put this out. And now I have something that's physical in front of me. That's success. And
Nah,
like,
yeah.
I completely see where you're coming from in terms of feeling like a failure, because I have done so many different projects, especially when it comes to fits, try
Hmm.
to build so many different things that have failed. But it's like, what am I doing each time? I'm learning about that and I'm
Yeah.
pushing my ideas forward and I'm putting it out. And you know what? Maybe it wasn't the right play, but I'm just going to take that and go back to the bat cave and
Yeah.
come
Go
back
back to the
with
back
a
case.
better play each and every time. And I feel like that's
Definitely.
success, because a lot of people think that there's overnight success, but a lot of the time it is constant lessons, it's constant learning, it's constant growth. And like, at that point, my definition of success is
Yeah.
getting better each and every day, so that when that opportunity comes, when that ball comes right in front of my face, I'm ready to knock it out the park. And then everyone thinks that, oh, that was an overnight success, when really it was a
You know,
compounding of consistency and getting better.
you know what I think about it when you say about that, like the success overnight. I feel like people think about. I'm gonna go like a little bit off topic. I'm going to music a little bit. People think Ice Spice is an overnight thing, right? But like, if you really break down what it takes to actually like be in this stuff, I don't believe she just made one song and just got popping. Like nobody makes, and I feel like if you make music, you don't make one song and then get popping. There's a journey. I feel like Ice Spice has made at least 30 songs. I'm just saying, I'm giving it a bare amount, at least 30 songs previously before this main one came out. And even if you want to take the song just out of context, right? The person who made the video for her, right? That person had to see something in the past of her to actually be okay with making that video, right? And it's not just bread because it's like you giving somebody money to make a video. The videographer has to have some type of alignment to make that video.
100%.
Nobody is making and just taking bread
100%.
and just making just no, nobody's doing that. So
I'm with you.
they either one had an alignment for some shit that she had in the past, or he seen something in her that was gonna be great for the future.
A
So it was
hundred
like,
percent. And
is
let me further that point real quick. So at the last show we talked about the 10,000 hour rule, right? And so
yeah.
what I didn't know at the time was that rule came from Malcolm Gladwell in the book
Hmm.
Outliers, right?
Hmm.
And he's the one that introduced the 10,000 hour rule. And this is
Yeah.
how he prefaced it. He said, hockey players in Canada, right?
Hmm.
When you look at the actual ages of all the hockey players and the dates, all their birthdays are in January. And he was
Hmm.
like, January, February, March. And he said, well, why is that? Well, the cutoff, the age cutoff, when you play
Hmm.
sports, how it's like to get in different age groups, there's always a cutoff. Well,
Yeah.
that was January 1st. So what was happening
Wow.
was the oldest kids were the biggest kids at the time when they were tiny. They're five, they're on the ice, right?
Yeah.
They're a lot older and physically more developed than the kids that were born in October or December, right?
Mm.
And those same kids got put into higher practice divisions and higher leagues at younger ages, which forced them to play more hockey over the course of their life than the kids that were born in December, told that they weren't as good, right? Got put in the
Mm.
worst leagues. They
Damn.
played less
Wow.
hockey. And so
Yeah.
his point is, these kids, in thinking that they were an early success, had more confidence and got put into better leagues, which required more work. And over the course of time, all of that time ended up compounding into a point where eventually they put in 10,000 hours where other
Mm.
people had only put in 2,000 hours. And it's because they played more hockey. And so I thought that was
Mm.
fire in terms of, he even said Bill Gates. People look at Bill Gates and said, oh, he dropped out of college at Harvard and started Microsoft. How did he do that? Well, Bill Gates, luckily, and part of the 10,000 hours is opportunity and luck hitting you. He was born at the right time where when he touched eighth grade, his school got a computer.
Nah, that's
And over
crazy.
that course of time, Bill Gates programmed 8 hours a day for the next 8 years, getting him
Mm,
to 10,000 hours. And they talk about how a lot of the time, if you achieve a little bit of early success, you end up putting in more work, and that more work compounds and compounds and compounds, and it gets you better and better and better to the point where people don't realize that, oh, I really did just do this same thing for the last 8 years. Whereas somebody
nah,
that is trying
yeah.
to do exactly what I did put in a lot less work, and that is the 10,000 hours.
Hmm. See, yeah, nah, yeah, definitely. And to to really like now, when you were saying that, I really was thinking about that to in terms of like my ability, and I was like, I didn't think about all the shit that I did before. Like, I didn't think
The
about the
graphic
time
design,
design, like to go into college. Like, I've been doing graphic design since high school, ninth grade. Like, going crazy, boom, 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 and then I'm 25. Like, I've been doing digital art and making concepts since I was at least 14 or 15, and that's coming up
it's
on at
like,
least 10 years now. So like,
yeah. And it's a lot
so
of times it's that it's crazy. It blows your mind to think about, but it is that a lot of times it's like you don't know now, but one day you will know.
you
That's what
want,
Jay Z
yeah.
said the other day, and it's like
Mm,
one day you will know. And I feel like your graphic design skills, right? And then you designing that truck, and then it's like the
yeah.
constant opportunities required more work, and because
Mm,
of that you ended up just as a result of that, your time really did compound to a point where
yeah.
you done really put in 5,000 hours already, and it's like now that you are making clothes every day, right, and
Hmm.
you like it, and now you're achieving more success, you're gonna make more and more and more, and now you're spending 8-hour days, and once that compounds over 5 years, like it
Nah, yeah.
completely separates you from the pack, and that's the 10,000 hour rule. And that completely blew my mind when
Nah,
I
yeah.
read it, and that's facts.
You know what's funny?
Wow.
Like you said, start getting to the 8 hours. I started out making clothes at the 8 and 10 to 12 hours a day. So like, I already was taking that mentality of like, now remember, I just literally lost, like, I left a really good job. Like, I was getting paid like $125 a day, right? Making at least almost 3,000 a month, right? So like, I'm 20. That's good for a 20-year-old living at parents like 3,000. I'm making bread. So like, I don't gotta worry
Yeah.
about stuff. Like, I'm buying clothes, whatever. And I'm like, and there was a point where like, and me buying clothes, and I was like, I dead ass can design this. Like, and for like a good 2 years of me having bread, I was like, there is nothing that I like. Like, I'm going into different stores. I'm like, all right, well, I'm like, there ain't really nothing. I'm like, it's like I gotta spend my 3,000 on like on one thing. I'm like, that's stupid. I'm like, I can make my own shit. I was like, nah, I got all this, not necessarily know how, but I have the ability to buckle down and actually work for the shit that I want.
Well, let me further that point, right? One thing that I'm making a new kind of message that I've
Hmm.
been spreading a lot. Maybe I'll test this on you, and let's see if this works.
Uh,
I've been saying to people, don't start a business, don't
hmm.
start a brand,
Hmm.
start a revolution. And
Okay,
what that means is, why did revolution start in the first place? Well, revolutions start because there's a problem.
there's a
For
problem.
you,
Yeah.
that problem was, yo, I can't find any clothes that I like, right? And so
Hmm.
a revolution starts with the problem, and then somebody says, you know what? I'm putting my foot in the ground. there has to be a solution for this problem, and I'm gonna create that solution. And then they go on that path of rallying and finding the audience that feels that same way about that problem. They write their manifesto, their Declaration of Independence. You made that piece of clothing and you said, this is part of the solution to that problem. And I feel like one of the best things that anyone in business or and any of this thing can do is solve their own problem. If you solve your own
Yeah.
problem, you know that it is a problem. And so
Nah,
that's why
yeah,
I've been saying
definitely.
start a revolution, because every business starts with a problem, and then you have your
Hmm.
idea or a hypothesis as to how you're going to solve that problem, and then that's your plan, right? And then
Yeah.
what you said next is you got to experiment, right? So
Experiment, yep.
you got to treat this like a scientific method,
Nah,
right?
yeah,
You have
definitely.
problem, solution, you have a hypothesis on how you're going to do it. Now you got to test it out, right?
Hmm.
And that's why I be telling people make a prototype. So you have to experiment,
Yup,
right?
yup, yup.
Next, if you start kind of figuring it out, maybe your experiment works. Now you got to map out that solution
Nah,
to
yup.
you know what I mean? Get to the next level. Then you find the audience, right? And you
No,
obviously that was part of the
the
plan as
definite.
well.
You
That
missed
was
one,
part of the
definite.
audience. But then now the audience is joining your revolution because they're
Yeah.
acknowledging, yeah, I have been oppressed and I
Hmm.
have had this problem. And you're like,
Yeah.
yo, I got your solution, right?
Yup, yup.
That's the A. And then that's when you get to success. And so a lot of people say business is about, maximizing profit for shareholders, or starting a brand is
Yeah.
about getting people to fuck with you. And I just believe that if you start a revolution and you're really solving a problem for a specific
Hmm.
group of oppressed people, then
Yeah.
eventually you will go down that PEMDAS and you would get to a level of success if that's what you focus on.
Mm. Nah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. Nah, yeah. Can I add to that too?
Go ahead.
I bet. I'm gonna give you one thing that I also learned too. If you, there's two ways you can do it. When there is a problem, like you can make something, and one of not the best, but one of the most successful is making something when there is no problem. One of the best, feel like one of the best inventions, right, that people use every day without they even knowing is the drill, the power drill, right? We use that shit to make houses, everything. That was literally made for no reason but to take makes literally a hammer in space.
I'll give you I'll push back a little bit in terms of I see that, but at the same time, the power drill solves the problem of me having to bang that hammer. Somebody's
Yeah,
out
but
there
I'm
right
saying,
now.
as I'm
I hear the
saying,
power drill.
making a revolution in an industry that doesn't have a problem will inherently fix a problem somewhere else,
Yeah, that's facts. That's facts.
which is kind of cool
That's facts.
because it's like it's kind of becomes like a domino effect because it's like, oh, I didn't know I can use this for this. Oh, okay, and then it's like that invention then evolves into another thing that fully is like a revolution for that problem too, because it's a branch
Yeah.
off of something that had nothing to do with that.
I'll add to your point too and say that a lot of oh my God, some of the biggest companies that we experience have started out thinking that they're solving one thing, but then when they continue to go, they experiment,
Hmm.
test out, and end up solving something else. So, like, Shopify started as a snowboarding store. Twitter started
Wow.
out as podcasting distribution. Instagram was a check-in app for drinkers called Bourbon, right?
Wait, it's
And
called
so
what?
when you look at all,
Uh,
it was called Bourbon. It was a check-in app where you would go to the bar and check in that you're there, but they had
that's
a photo
crazy.
sharing feature that people were using. So it's like all of these YouTube started as a dating site, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of the time, yes, you identified one problem, you experimented and you realized that it solved something else, but you can only do that when you work.
When you
You know
work,
what I mean?
definitely,
That
definitely,
that makes it not an overnight success.
definitely.
That means that you done prepared and you done put in the time to get to a point where then Slack started out as a gaming company, and they used internal communications to chat with their team, and then was like, oh, we should probably, when their gaming stuff went down, they're like, we should probably move into this.
Nah, that's
So I
crazy.
feel like that's a huge point that we both made. You know what I mean?
Nah, yeah, definitely. Because it's like,
Man,
just feel like at the end of the day, just make whatever you feel is good. Because you never know. That's what I'm saying. Like, making something to an artist is inherently something hard, right? But if you want to make it easier, just make something that is inherently you, and that audience will come to you. I never had a Facebook page or never been on any type of social media that probably been over 500 people who was following. So like I've never had that pressure of like trying to like be in the, I guess you could say, like graces of like the public, right? So
I feel that. I think that, and that's what I'd be telling people when it comes down to like starting in YouTube. I'm like, bro, your first however many videos, nobody's watching.
that's what I'm
So that's
saying.
fine because by the time people do tune in, like I tuned into Game of Thrones on season 6.
Hmm.
Like, but by the time people do tune in, then you have
Yeah,
your stuff is together.
it's together.
Um,
Yeah.
let's wrap this up pretty quickly. I just wanted to ask you a few things to
Definitely.
close out. My first thing is what is, and I'm a little bit worried because it looks like the recording reset. Hopefully it bagged and just moved on, but
Hmm.
like I pray we didn't lose any of this.
Okay. Nah, you
Because this
definitely.
was a fantastic conversation. So, um, my first question to you is, what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself right when you were in that stage of, do I do this full time or do I, go back to trucking?
If I can go back, I would say you made the right decision. I'm like I would say that you have been making the right decisions from the beginning. Like I would, okay, because people like to say like, "Oh, I would like to change this." Then, yeah, if you change it, then you won't have the outcome you have now, right? So if I will go back, I'm be like, whatever that you think that you was doing wrong, just do what you doing, and you'll see that whatever you was doing just made everything a lot better. Like you, like it's kind of like always saying like being in the gym, like you was getting like I was getting Aki, I was getting my I was getting my punches and I was learning how to take a punch, I was learning how to do, push ups and stuff like that. And now that I feel comfortable at displaying myself as a designer, it's nothing.
Wow. My next question to you would be, what is success to you at this point? We talked about redefining success. We talked about it a little bit, but what's success?
So in the beginning, I guess success was being recognized by like the fucking highest people in fashion. Success now is just making sure that the people that follow me, like, or who are attached to my brand are good. Like, it's like making sure that they get good products, like working more on myself and me as a brand than rather my brand be out there and not be um a brand that is good for in any weather. Because it's like anything can come out of brand and it's like they fold and it's like, oh, whatever. And then like they start doing like sneaky tactics and doing crazy stuff, not doing orders, people sending them money and stuff like that for orders and they taking the money and then using that money to make other stuff that they want to make really, really bad. But different crazy stuff. Like I never want to do that type of stuff. Like just keeping it very
So yeah,
authentic and just cut and dry. Like,
I like that. I like
yeah.
that. All right, two more. Um, what is one thing that you have to say to emerging designers or people that want to get into fashion?
Use PEMDAS. Use that. Use that PEMDAS, bro. Because I feel like when you're using that, it's definitely gonna help you out. Like I'm gonna post it. I'm gonna post it on my page one day. One day I'm
Say
gonna
less,
post it.
say less.
But nah,
Nah, I like
definitely.
I like that framework.
Yeah, like because
And
it's
my
like.
last thing is
Mhm.
go ahead.
Nah, I'm just saying. Also, just don't think as this fashion stuff as a hobby, like, cause that's gonna just put your mindset at if this don't work, then I can just do no. This is gonna work. You just gotta put the time in. Like, don't worry about all that other stuff. Da, 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 da. You're gonna get what you're gonna get because you put time in it. People can look at that and be like, okay, this is time put in rather than you just like gallery department just taking old Levi jeans and just splashing paint on it and call it's $1,000. Like no, no.
My last question to you is this podcast is called The Game of Power.
Hmm.
And so I guess my question to you would be, what is that concept, those words, the game of power, power in particular,
Hmm.
what does that mean to you?
Uh, Power is dangerous. Power is very, very dangerous. If you don't know how to use power, you can really mess yourself up in the mindset of people who are following you. So if you're not a righteous person, you should not be in the state to give people letting people follow you because they take up parts of your personality and your aspirations that you probably don't want people doing. So if you're not mentally sound and like know how to like talk to people and articulate your words and know how to actually give meaning to what you're actually saying, then I think you need to take a step back and not just with the clothes, but just trying to understand, just communication and understanding that 10K followers is very much power, and you can do a lot with that. 1,000 followers is a lot of power too. You know, Having people follow you in any fashion is a lot of power that you should be very like cordial with and understand that you should be the not necessarily like the beacon, but you should be like a figure, in whatever facet that you're doing.
100%, 100%. Well, man, thank you so much for hopping on the
Nah,
show.
definitely,
You spit
definitely.
great game, and I appreciate you, and can't wait to see what you keep creating.
Nah, definitely, definitely, bro. We out here.